Hello and welcome back. And today we have a new exhibit, as it were, for the channel. Not new to me, I've had this quite a few years, but this tractor here is coming out of hibernation, probably been away for maybe 3 years perhaps since it was last out and about doing things. This year, 2025, I've decided to get it out and give it literally blow the cobwebs away. You'll see in a second what I mean about that, but literally blow the cobwebs away and give it an outing and take it to Weeting Rally, which is on the third weekend in July, coming up, about a week or so's time away. By the time you see this video, probably be only 2 or 3 days away. Now, what have we got here? Well, we have got what is called an Oliver 80 Rowcrop. Serial number is 111267KD. That basically stands for 1941. It was built in 1941. It has got a kerosene distillate engine in it, in other words, low compression for burning kerosene, or paraffin as we know it in the UK. TVO, not really TVO because this was an American tractor. It was designed to burn paraffin. We now use heating oil because TVO you can't buy, or you can buy, but only in very small quantities, and it's not really worth it because it's expensive, or it's more expensive than just standard heating oil. The other version of this was a high compression, so that would have been an HC, and that would have burnt petrol or gasoline only, which would have been very popular in America given the price of petrol or gasoline. In the UK, however, the best way to run a tractor in the 1940s was on basically tractor vaporizing oil or paraffin, and that's what this one is designed to do. Just a small brief history on Oliver and where they sit in the tractor manufacturing market of the mid 20th century and early part of the 20th century. Oliver tractors were derived from the original Hart-Parr machines that were first designed in 1901, 1902, 1903. There's a bit of dispute about the fact that Hart-Parr coined the word tractor, and they say that they were the first people to build the first tractor in the world. Not strictly true, but on a commercial large scale, then yes, probably definitely true. 1903 or 1902, somewhere around that sort of period, Hart-Parr brought out their huge 3060 hit and miss stationary engine on wheels, let's call it, and they called it a tractor, and it went from there. In 1929, Oliver Farm Equipment, that was making equipment for farms, tillage equipment, harvesting equipment, as in threshing machines and things like that, and ploughs, they wanted a tractor line and they bought Hart-Parr. And in 1930 they brought out the first Oliver tractor, which originally was called the Oliver Hart-Parr 1827, and it was a three-wheeler, and it looked very much like this. This one is the successor to what was the 1828 tractor, which was a standard four-wheel configuration agricultural tractor, and that was brought out in early 1931, I think, something like that. And the Oliver 80, as a standard agricultural tractor, was derived from that machine. Can't remember quite exactly the year that happened, but it being America, of course, with a lot of crops that were in rows, corn, cotton, maize, that sort of stuff, root crops and everything else, they designed, quite a lot of manufacturers designed, a row crop version of their standard agricultural, and that's what this is. This is an Oliver 80 row crop, and you can see that it's a bit of an ungainly looking beast. Got a very wide front axle, but she sits on four wheels, and it's basically an Oliver 80 standard, but with a different transmission to cope with the high clearance and the big wheels on the back and the front, and allows the tractor to be used in row crop situations. A lot of them are three-wheelers. This one is a four-wheeler, and it makes that quite uncommon in England, definitely. I would hesitate to say rare, but it probably is quite rare in England. In America there were a lot more of these. In fact, Oliver tractors in America were very popular, but not that popular over here in the UK. But that being said, this was an original import in 1941. The state of it when I bought it was pretty ropey. I'll put the picture up of the eBay advert that I saw back in 2006, I think it was. And and it was half what it is now. So it was quite a mammoth task to get this thing back together, and you can probably tell that there's a number of different colours on the machine. So when I got this tractor, the front end was sort of half missing, the wheels were missing, the back wheels I should say were missing. What else was wrong with it? I didn't have any tin work with it. The hood was gone, the fuel tank had completely rotted away, because all of that is tin. This is what normally happens to the hoods. When you're right by the exhaust pipe, it just rots away. The tank, that was a big hole in the tank, so I had to get another tank. It didn't have a petrol tank on the back either, had no seat, didn't have a steering wheel. I'll say the back wheels were missing. It had some sort of cobbled together wheels, and I've sort of cobbled together some better wheels, although they're still not quite right, and I've made efforts in getting the correct ones, or closer to the correct ones if I can. But fundamentally, I stripped the engine. It was seized up when I got it. I stripped the engine. It's a bit of a big of a beast of an engine. Can't remember the size diameter of the pistons, but it's quite a long stroke, as you can tell. There's the bottom of the sump, and you can see from the top of the head actually disappears up inside the hood, so you can see what the stroke's like on this. So the engine was seized. I rebuilt it. It was actually in pretty good condition when I got it apart, so I didn't have to replace a huge amount of parts. Got pretty much cleaned everything up. It was just stuck from standing rather than actually rotten inside, which was very lucky. So yeah, the bottom half though, the bottom half of the engine is a different off a different tractor. So that's why the bottom half is actually green, and the engine block itself and the back end of the engine, back end of the transmission, that is all grey. So it's been sprayed in grey primer, which is not correct. As I say, the hood or the bonnet came from somewhere else. The radiator was, I had the radiator completely rebuilt. The previous owner had sort of painted the sides of the radiator, just so, I don't know why, but he did. He didn't actually have anything to do with the radiator itself. And as I say, the tank is another tank from, I think, from a breakers that I found in England. And yeah, she's running, and she's been running for about 8 or 9 years, I suppose. And she's done a couple of little rallies. I'll put a little bit of video footage in when we ploughed with her for a couple of times at Stopfold Mill before COVID, and it hasn't really been out and done much since COVID, if I'm honest. We've got plenty of other things happening, as you can tell on the channel. And I'm really in two minds about what to do with this, if I'm honest, because I've always said, I'll keep it in its working clothes like it is, but there's probably too many colours on it for my liking. If it was all red, if it was all rusty and brown, then I'd probably leave it. But it's just too many shades, which, you know, it's okay. It's got quite a nice look to it, in my view. But I often wonder maybe whether I should, knowing that it runs okay, maybe I should just strip the whole thing, sandblast it and paint it this proper green, olive green colour and red wheels as it should be. I think probably when I get the rear wheels done slightly better than they are, then I think I will probably do that at some point in the future. So when I talk about the rear wheels, what I mean by the rear wheels, if you can look at the side of the tractor here, you can see that it doesn't really sit level. It sort of squats down at the back a little bit, and that's because the back wheels are not the right diameter. The original wheels for this would have been 42-inch rims with a much bigger profile tyre. As it is, these are 44-inch rims, but the tyres that are on them are not very wide, because they're proper modern Rowcrop tyres. And because they're not very wide, they're also not very tall either. So it sort of lends itself to having a bit of a squat down appearance at the back, which it shouldn't have. It should be sat level. And the reason it should be sat level is because underneath the middle of this tractor, we've got some ports here, which is where a set of huge iron tubes would fit with underslung equipment, which is controlled by a mechanical device here which lifts and lowers the equipment in and out of the ground, and it's full view of the driver, so the driver sitting on the seat doesn't have to look behind him at any equipment that's going on, and whether he's weeding and whatever he's doing with his rows. Everything sits down underneath the tractor so you can actually see what's happening, and as I say, it's lifted and lowered out of the ground by this piece of equipment here. There's a lever over the far side, one pull of the lever and you get 180 degrees turn on the lever. It lifts it up, pull it again, and it drops it back in the ground. Would have had steering brakes on it at some point, although the linkage for those has disappeared. And I haven't, because I don't use it for Rowcrop work, I've never bothered reinstating it. But back to the tyres and wheels, it didn't come with the tyres and wheels that it's got now. It had something very similar, but quite dangerous really. There were spoked wheels which had been welded, cobbled together. Wasn't very good, wasn't very happy, so I found another pair of rims which are the same sort of size. These are 8 by 44, or 8.5 by 44, and from the same place where I got the sump, and I think the front end as well is different on this. I think that was from the donor tractor that I got. The same place I also got the original cast centre wheel discs, and when I say they're cast, they are solid cast iron, very much like the front wheels. They're also cast iron. Absolutely, they weigh an absolute ton. And what I basically did was I cobbled together, and I do use that word, you know, advisedly, but it is better than what was on there. Basically bolted these rims to these centres, and then I could use the original fixings for the centres. Everything's adjustable on this because it's a Rowcrop machine, so the back axle is adjustable, so you can see that side there is that wheel is moved in quite a way, and then just as a demonstration you can see that one is moved out from the inboard of the trumpets there. If you look just here, and you can see the spline shaft sticking out the other side. This one's moved in a little bit because it does tend to wander a little bit inwards, thankfully, and not outwards. It's quite hard to lock them in. This is the locking mechanism. And so yeah, so I made it safer than it was, and it also looks a lot better because it's got the original centre. But I've now found a pair of wheels that I think, modern ones, that I think are 46-inch rim. They may be 44s, but the point is they're wider. They're wider rims, which means they've got a wider tyre, and therefore the profile of the tyre, the height that it sticks up, is much taller. And then hopefully what should happen is when I get them fitted on, the whole back of the tractor will come up level, and it will look much better than it does now. And yeah, so that's where we're at with that. Now it should have mud guards on here to sort of cover the wheels so that the driver is protected from dirt and debris and catching his arms on the tyres. I haven't had those made yet. They will have to be made. There's no way that you're going to find those original ones of those, especially in this country. I had them made for my other Oliver, exactly the same. They're called clamshell sort of type fenders or wings or mud shields, if you like. I'll get those made up maybe when I decide that I'm going to actually paint this thing up and maybe tart it up and make it look a bit more of a show queen. But just for now, what we've got to do is we've got a few things that we must sort of get ready for it to go to the rally next weekend, and not least clean it, but also I need to sort out this back wheel just to move it out a bit so it matches the other side. Nothing too wide, otherwise it won't go on my trailer. And I think also we might have a little bit of a water leak on it, but we'll just double check because I'm not entirely sure if it's stopped now. I think it might have done. The water pump was leaking just now down in there, but I think that's stopped now, but I may have to put some more packing in the gland just to make sure that that doesn't get any worse. So and it looks like also up there I might also have a leak up there, but I'm gonna have to monitor that one. So finally, the history on this machine. Well, I bought it in 2006. It's preserved in a working condition, that's what I call it. It came at the right price. I was looking at getting another Oliver at the time because I wanted another one. I'd already got my Oliver 70, and I wanted another one, and I always like something that's a bit unusual, and this sort of fits the bill really, because it is unusual. You don't see many about. And so we went and got it, and it came from a potato farm up in Yorkshire in the UK, a place called Scunthorpe, or near Scunthorpe. And I believe that it was originally sold from a farm auction that was at the Nicholson Brothers, up in that direction. But that's purely was on the eBay advert. So if anybody ever recognises this, or they work for Nicholson's back in the day, or they know this tractor, or they know possibly that they might think they know this tractor, I'd be interested to hear, because I'm always interested in the history of the vehicle. You know, if I've got something, I like to know where it's been and what it's done. And it was used for ridging potatoes, which is generally what you're going to be doing in Yorkshire. And that's about as much as I know about it. And I rescued it from this farm and set about restoring it or renovating it. And what you see today is what we have. Okay, let's get it down to the workshop, sort this wheel out, check our water leaks, give it a grease and a good old clean. Right, basically we've got to move out this right hand wheel, we've got to move it 5 inches outwards to match the other side, and then that should be just under 6'6" wide, and that will just go on my trailer. And it should also match up with the front wheels as well, so that the track is more or less the same, and it makes it look a little bit more as it should. And the other thing is it will make it more stable as well, having a wider track. Not too worried about whether the fronts match the backs, because we're not doing any work with it, so it's be fine as it is. All we need to do it for is just to make it match as best we possibly can. And how we do that is we've got basically this split cone which is inside the actual wheel disc itself. It's held in with these 4 great big bolts. 2 of them are modern, 2 of them are old. That was because they look different because the heads of the bolts are different, but the threads are the same, because the modern equivalent of the thread for this bolt is this size head, which I think is 1 5/16". They're coarse thread, but the original Oliver ones are basically much smaller head size. But it's not a problem because they do exactly the same job. It just looks a bit strange. They have gone rusty now, so at least it matches what we've got on here. You can probably see, when I said cobwebs a minute ago, you can see how many cobwebs we've got on this tractor. It's been sat under a black sheet. If you check back at the last update for the channel, I alluded to what is under the black sheet, and this is the beast that lurked below. And a lot of spiders have lurked with it by the look of it, so there's lots of spider webs to brush off and get rid of. It's a nice, beautifully hot, dry day, so they should come off quite easily with a brush. And what we've got to do is basically loosen off these 4 bolts, give this a tap just to break the taper a little bit, and the whole thing really should then basically slide along the shaft and come off. Well, not come off, because if it comes off I've got to catch it and it's bloody heavy, but come far enough off the axle so that we've got a matched pair at the back end. We don't need to take them right out, because this is just basically a cone, and as you loosen them, the cone should release itself. Ironic, got a Spitfire going over. 1941, probably 1940 or something. Back in the day. Being so close to Shuttleworth, we got a lot of, and Duxford as well, we've got a lot of Spitfires that come over here, journeying from one airfield to another or practicing their manoeuvres in the sky. Right, take the weight off the wheel. Now we're not jacking it very high, just enough to take the weight off the wheel, just to allow the wheel to be able to slide. It's already gone. I think it's already started to move. Yep, it's already loose. Oh yes, just a bit dirty. Now we're not going to go too mad because I don't want to pull it off the jack. But in theory, here she comes. Nearly on the mark. Over there. Yep, 8 inches. 8 inches. Right, let's get them tightened up. Now as I pull the bolts in, it pulls down on the taper. Do the top one as well, doing a cross pattern so that it goes up square, because the taper might go in skew width and then it will come loose as it's turning. I'll put some weight on it in a minute now I've done this. Now what you're looking for, that when it didn't go down, it didn't actually, spline didn't actually move in the hub, and it hasn't. So we're happy that it's tightened on the spline. If you did it with the weight on the spline, you'd struggle to do these bolts up tight enough because you're trying to lift the weight of the tractor effectively. With it off the floor, all I'm doing is lifting the weight of the wheel, which is not inconsiderable in itself. So you want to make life a little bit easier for yourself if you ever have to do it. Incidentally, these discs came on different shafts which are actually in better condition than these shafts, and when I do restore this properly, I think I'm going to change out the shafts for this, because these are quite they're quite corroded from where it was sat. Must have sat outside for donkey's years and got rusty. It's very, very pitted, a lot of it. So that will make that better there. But these hubs were on the other shafts and they were absolutely rusted solid, and it took me a good couple of days just to do one side, to heat it all up, get the heat and cool, really hot. I mean, this is cast iron. It took a lot of oxyacetylene heat to get into this before this would start to move. Eventually I got them apart and they fit these splines, obviously, because they're the same. There we go. Right, just the little ones left. That's basically wedging the taper into the hub, closing down the spline, the female spline onto the male. It's a very hot day, not the sort of day you want to be doing heavy spannering. Torque setting, don't talk to me about torque settings. FT, if you don't know what FT is, look it up. Bottom line is, you don't want them coming off. Tight as possible. Right, I think we'll top some oil up, give her a brush down, check out a water leak, get it on the trailer. Well, it's looking like I've got a bit of a weep on the top, I'd say hose, but it's not. It's a cast iron pipe which bolts to the top of the radiator tank on the top tank, and it looks like it's weeping around the gasket. Now I'm not going to worry about it because it's just a drip, because that's like a radiator off job to do and I haven't got time. So I'm going to have to trust the luck that that's not going to pour out when it gets hot. Presumably when it gets hot it will expand and maybe it will do up itself. I've already done the bolts up. The water pump has stopped leaking. I've adjusted that. I'll show you what I did there. And I'm just going to give it a brush round and some compressed air, get all the dust and dirt off and the cobwebs, and then we'll give it a spray over of a bit of preserver. Now I don't know if you can see, but in there is an adjustable water pump seal, and we've got a castellated nut and a gland, and it's just dripping one little bit at a time. And what's happening is that the under the gland there's some packing, like string packing, and you adjust it by screwing that gland in with a screwdriver into the water pump itself, and that basically squeezes the packing down on the shaft and it seals the shaft. And it has been dripping for quite a long time. It really needs some new packing in there, but I'm hoping that it's going to last for the weekend that I need it for. If it does leak, then it's not a problem. I can do it fairly easily. I'll just take some with me, but I'm not going to do it if I don't have to touch it. I'm not going to touch it. Now she is a bit of an ugly one, the way she stands on its basically skeletal type wheels, high stepper, high clearance. Strange machine, but it's unusual, and that's what I like. And I did toy with the idea of selling this not so long ago, but I've decided not, because it's not got a huge value to it, and I get more pleasure out of it, even if it's just sitting in the shed and looking at it, than I would with it being money in the bank. And if it was money in the bank, I'd just buy something else. So I may as well keep this unusual and rare bit of agricultural history. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and comment, share to your friends. Yet another one of the Wheels of History fleet unveiled for your viewing pleasure. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to catch us at Weeting, then we will be up there from Friday through to Sunday. This will be on show, and hopefully we'll be pootling around the ring a couple of times. I'm not going to do any work with it. You can do work at Weeting, but I'm not going to. It's likely to be quite hot, and what with my water leak and everything that I've got up there, I don't know what that's going to entail if it does go wrong. So I think I'm just going to keep it looking like it does, in its working clothes, down and dirty. Take care, and if I see you at Weeting, come and say hello. If not, catch you on the next video. Bye for now.